Welcome everyone to another episode of the GoDaddy Pro Meetup. We are here with Cami, MacNamara from Cami, and she is going to be sharing all about how to manage your clients. A couple of quick things before we get started. The first one is if you have not registered for the Expand event, that is going on in 2 weeks. It is an event you do not want to miss. You can go to events.godaddy.com, which is where you logged into this event, and you can register for that event. I highly recommend you do. And on top of that, next week, we have Chris Edwards talking about building your recurring revenue streams. So all of these events are leading to Expand, and those are all things you don't want to miss. Cami, I am going to turn the floor over to you, and we will take care of all the Q&A as soon as you are done presenting. So
Great.
Take it away.
All right. Well, thanks, Sandy. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Cami MacNamara, and I have been building websites from my home office in Seattle, Washington, for 19 years now, which blows me away because it doesn't feel like 19 years. I absolutely love what I do. But I am very happy to be here today and share with you how I manage my clients. And I want to share with you a little bit more about my business itself. I design websites that are WordPress only, and I work in Beaver Builder only too, which is kind of unique, but I'm really about streamlining my systems. I've built over 500 websites in the course of these 19 years. It's probably getting closer to 600. I need to update my spreadsheet a little bit. I work mostly with small businesses and nonprofits. And a small business to me is a business with 25 employees or less. And I am a solopreneur, and I take a lot of pride in that. I don't outsource my design work. I'm an agency of one, and it really fits how I want to grow my business and what I do. I also want to throw in there that Pro Sites is one of the most important tools that I use in my business. And I am also a GoDaddy Pro ambassador. I got the t-shirt on here. I used to go to WordCamps with everybody and made great friends at GoDaddy. I've been a customer of GoDaddy since 2003 and have a lot of clients that use GoDaddy products as well. And I'm also on what's now called the super user group, but I have been on a panel with other web designers. Some of you are here today. I really appreciate that. It's just always nice to be a part of any event that GoDaddy puts on. So after 19 years of having my own business, I can honestly say that nothing has contributed to my success and longevity more than cultivating relationships with my clients. I want my clients to have a good experience from when they first become my client forever, because I want them to be my client for a very long time. That doesn't mean there haven't been hiccups along the way, but the most important thing is that I've learned from every issue that I've had with a client, and it's made my process better. So I never view a new client as somebody I'm going to build a website for and just have them disappear. They are going to be my client for as long as I can keep them. And here are my top 10 tips for managing your clients in a way that will exceed their expectations. The number one thing I do with every new client is I really listen to my gut feeling. And that means that maybe they come to me via the internet, they fill out my form. I get a lot of clients through referrals from other people. And I want to actually talk to them. I don't want them to just blindly fill out a form. So my screening process always includes a phone call. I don't necessarily need a Zoom meeting right off the bat, but the purpose of that is I listen more than I talk, and I just hear out what they need. That helps me figure out if I'm a good fit, because I'm not a good fit for everyone. And they may need services that I don't offer, and in that case, I can refer them to somebody else. But I want to have that conversation. It's just kind of like a blind date. You really need to treat it in a way that you're not just building them a website, you're starting a friendship / relationship with somebody. So you really need to find out if you're going to be a good fit and trust that feeling that you have. Take charge. So the other thing that happens a lot is, I know many freelancers have this problem along with me. You get a new client and they know enough about tech to be dangerous. And they kind of want to steer the process of building the website. And you really need to put a kibosh on that from the very start. So I have a whole process of building a website, and I spell it out in detail in my proposal document. So we've had the first date, we're going to talk about building the website now, and I'm going to tell them exactly how I'm going to do it. Now, I not only send them that, I send them a contract, and I send them a really detailed estimate. A lot of times these clients will just want to sign on the dotted line. And one of the main things that I do at this point is say, I'm sorry, we need to go over this together on Zoom, because I want to see them. And I also want to see how they react to the stipulations I have in my contract. So this sets up the setting of expectations in this call. And we go over everything, and I answer all their questions. This is the time to really weed out any issues that might arise. And so red flags for me include the people who want to edit my contract. I have a really lengthy contract that I had an attorney write, and I don't have the money to always have it updated for each individual client. So that is something that's non-negotiable for me. I will sign a contract that they have for themselves, but make sure that you're really letting them know what the process is. And included in that process is a timeline estimation. Now, I used to not really give a detailed timeline estimation, and I still give a sample in my proposal document because every project is different. But the main thing that I stress is if you are 2 weeks late getting something to me, the whole project moves out 2 weeks. And setting that up from the beginning will just save you so much in terms of trying to manage an issue with a client, because you have been upfront from the very beginning. I always give something away. So when I'm working on a website and we're within the scope, and let's say the client totally forgot, I also want to share my LinkedIn account. I'm just going to put their LinkedIn icon on there, no extra charge. I'm going to do some small things throughout the process for goodwill. I also let them know that I have put their website in my care plan, the mock-up for the website in my care plan while I'm working on it. So I'm protecting it and virus scanning it, and I'm starting to educate them about that process in the very beginning. I also tell them I'm going to give them a free month of my care plan services. And this little giveaway of a free month has expanded my care plan through the roof. I now manage over 150 client websites in my care plan, which I use Pro Sites for. And it's probably been the best investment I've made in growing my business. So give a little bit and you'll get a lot in return. Okay, over communicate. So I want to mention Jennifer Bourne. I think she did an event with GoDaddy earlier today. I was working, so I couldn't attend. But her profitable project plan training just really did wonders for me and my business, especially when it comes to communicating. So I have a whole binder here, which has, I don't know, about 80 pre-written emails that walks a client from the very beginning of education and discovery through design, development, launch, offboarding, the whole works. And that training and those pre-written emails have made me so much more proficient as a web designer. And it also enables me to have the client always know what I need and what I need them to do. And I use MinMax for those scheduled emails. It's just been such a game changer. I also send out a monthly newsletter, and I resisted doing that for a long time. But that's how I stay in touch with the people that I'm not currently working on a project for. So never feel like you're overdoing it when it comes to reaching out to your client. I would always just assume they can't wait to hear from you. Okay, it's a good mental change to just think about, I haven't reached out to them, I need to. Okay, don't be too available. This one is a little, you think you want your clients to know you're always there. You do. But this can be a real catch-22 if you open up your calendar for your clients to book an appointment with you. I use Calendly. And if they open that and I'm available from 9 to 5 every single day, I'm going to have all those appointments booked up and I don't have time to run my business. I personally only have 8.5 hours available for meetings every week. I have a couple hours of emergency meeting time, but the rest of the time I'm building websites, I'm running my business. And you just want to make sure that you're there for them, but you can't have it disrupt your work. So at one time in my career, I had 44 projects in process. I couldn't say no to anybody. I cried myself to sleep every night. And now I'm much more disciplined with meetings. And all you have to do is just educate your clients. And here's what I do to educate them. I put my working hours in my email signature. I set an out of office vacation message every single weekend because I'm closed on the weekends. I ask clients to only text me if their website's down, which is like a dire emergency, and any regular requests have to come through email. Again, I used Calendly, and that's really important because you're not going back and forth. So any scheduling tool is going to be a huge help to you. If I do work on the weekends, because I am a freelance solopreneur, we all work whenever we want to, right? I'm my own boss. I don't email them that day. I will schedule the email to go out to them Monday at like 10 o'clock because it's a mixed message to say, hey, I don't work weekends and I'm going to email you all this stuff on the weekend. And if I get repeated offenders of emailing me and expecting a return on the weekend, I just schedule an appointment with them and talk about it because maybe that proposal I gave them was 6 years ago and they've forgotten. So again, keep that communication open. Be personable. I'm sorry, that's my mom and dad. And I love my parents so much. And my business newsletter is sort of an update about, it's like the Glenn and Jesse report. Be personable to your clients. Let your clients know what's happening in your life. You're not just a computer. You're not just somebody that is churning out web design. My dad is 91 and he has lymphoma, and my mom has dementia at 85. And I tell my clients about this because it's a huge part of my life. And I want them to be prepared because I am going to say I'm heading to California for a couple weeks, maybe when things wrap up for my folks. And I just want them to be prepared for that. They love hearing about my folks and they ask about them all the time. And I think it makes me seem like a kind person to them. So sometimes I feel like freelancers feel like we need to act like everything is perfect and our lives are going great, but you can express important events in your life in a way that's just letting your clients know what's going on with you. Offer an ongoing service. So my client relationships really deepened when I started offering care plans. I watched a free webinar by Troy Dean. I'm sure many of you are familiar with him, about WordPress care plans back in 2015. And I hired a marketing maven to help me figure that all out. This was at the time when I had 44 websites in process and I cried myself to sleep every night. So I use GoDaddy Pro to accomplish this. Pro Sites, aka Managed WP, is the single most important tool in my business. I have a dashboard. I can log into all the client websites. But the most important part is a monthly report. So my client gets a monthly report and they know that I'm looking out for their websites. My clients call it Cami care and they express like, there is so much going on with hacking and virus scans and they don't know what backups are. And I just take care of all of that for them. And I touch their inbox every month with an email from me. And I get more business just off of letting them know I'm taking care of them. And it triggers like, hey, I need to do this. So if you're not doing something that is ongoing support, I really recommend that you look into that. All right, checking in with clients. So when we're working on a project with clients, we are always in contact with them. But what about the clients that you built a website for like 5-6 years ago? It might sound weird, but sometimes I'll get like a premonition, like, gee, I wonder how, Joe is. And then suddenly like 3 days later, Joe has emailed me out of the blue. And that type of intuition about your clients is something that you can nurture and pay attention to, and you will be able to let that client know that you weren't just the person who built their website 5 years ago, you're thinking about them now. I use real cards that I mail to clients, and I'll often throw in like a gift card to Starbucks, and I won't really say much other than I hope you're doing well, and if you ever need anything, just reach out to me. Make it a very personal card, and that connection will spur them to think about their website. Maybe you just need to have a meeting with them to review stuff, or maybe their theme is so old that you really need to do some upgrades. I use a CRM to kind of track when I'm getting in touch with clients. Insightly and Streak those are two things I use. But I also just use a Google Sheet because, I got over 200, I'm nearing 250 in regular clients, and you can totally lose track. So don't lose track and stay in touch with them. And finally, because I want you to have this Kenny Rogers song stuck in your mind for the rest of the day, know when to fold them. And I had to think back when I was writing the little blog post that went along with this. We all had crushes in high school. And I mentioned that I would brood in my room listening to Joan Jett sing Just to Me. And if I could go back to 15, 16-year-old me and say, like, what is wrong with you? Totally the wrong person for you. Do not waste a moment of time. That can happen with clients. And I learned this the hard way by not saying no to a client that I had previously worked with that was really difficult. I had a very difficult time. And I think I just wanted to be such a nice person, and I can work with anybody. But sometimes that's more painful and not worth it in the long run. It's okay to fire a client. It's not something I do often, but you want to make sure that you're nurturing the business that you want to attract, right? And so my advice to you is, you have that relationship that's tough, consider letting it go, because staying true to who you are is you exerting your power. The best thing about being a freelancer to me is being my own boss, and you don't ever want anyone to take that away from you. So finally, I just want to share my contact information. There's a link right there to a website that I have for other web designers. And I wanted to stress that today. My business website is up there, but I love connecting with other web designers. And so many of my friends are here that I can see today. And it's just a huge support system out there in WordPress and in web design in general. So there's a few ways to connect with me, and thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for doing this. I definitely definitely appreciate it. And I want to say I am a member of Webcanny Cafe on Facebook, and there is so much good advice that goes back and forth and all around, and it comes from everyone. And I think the great thing about a group like that is that everybody has had a difficult client and they've been difficult in a different way, or they've had amazing clients, or they've learned lesson the hard way, or they've heard about someone who has. And so being able to spread all of that information in a manner that is wholesome and helpful is, thank you for putting that group together. It's not easy to manage a Facebook group, especially one of people from all over the place. So definitely congrats.
Thank you. Technical question. Do you want me to keep sharing my screen at this point, or?
Yeah, okay. That's fine. That's
okay.
Fine. So let's jump into some Q&A. I'm going to grab one that came up in the regular chat just so that it doesn't get lost. And that is, will you share your slideshow? Is that located at?
I would be happy to. The last time I attempted to do that on Google Sheets, I had a little bit of an issue, but I will do my very best to do that. Google Sheets or not Google Sheets, but just the Google Drive system can be really tricky with getting something to be public. If not, I'll just download it as a PowerPoint and throw it up there for everyone.
Perfect. And I did put the link to the article in the chat, so feel free to grab that, everyone, because she has a lot of good points in there. On average, how many clients are you managing a month?
I have, it's somewhere between 155 and 165 clients in my managed WP system. Now, in total, I have like 187, but I'm currently building 22 websites. So I back up my own websites like I'm my own client, right? Like if I'm building a mock-up, it's backed up every night just along with everyone else's. But I think actively I do have a couple of clients who have 4 websites and some have 2. So it's over 150 that are in my care plan. But I actively have a lot of clients that do their own thing with their website too. I'm still working on them. But I send out my newsletter to around 240 people every month.
That is a lot of people.
Well, 19 years is a long time to be in business. And like I said, my goal is to keep them around as long as I can. And I really do. So
Barry says, I'm WordPress GoDaddy Pro user. What makes WordPress your go-to for web development?
Well, hands down, it's the community. I volunteer for the Seattle WordPress Meetup group, and Wix, and which we've heard a lot about lately, Squarespace and Weebly and all these other builders. Go to a Meetup, meetup.com, and search for a group. There are hardly any for those. And you put in a WordPress, and you just have a whole support system of ways to get training and learn from people. So I just believe in that WordPress community. I also feel like I used to build websites by scratch, HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. That was my whole life for the first 8 to 10 years of my business. And giving the client the tool of WordPress eliminates me having to do a lot of small things because I can teach the client how to do it. So I feel like the learning curve with WordPress, as long as the person has someone kind of holding their hand, is really easy to manage. I also invest in training plugin that goes right into each client website that I build, WP 101 plugin, and that gives my clients a way to have help when I'm not around. And I also record my own little training videos for them and even responses to emails in Loom. I use that all the time.
That is awesome. WP 101 is a good one for sure. What are your thoughts of firing a difficult client versus just raising their price? If you were paid two to three times, does that make the pain go away?
No. No, I honestly, if it gets to the point where you're ready to let them go, it's best to let them go, right? It's kind of like, don't stay in a bad relationship. Move on. When one door closes, another one opens.
Let's see here. We've got, I have issues with clients not wanting to use popular payment gateways like PayPal or Venmo and wind up waiting for checks via snail mail. Have any suggestions?
Okay, I totally feel your pain. I have those clients too. And what I started to do and what kind of turned the tide with that was when I send them an invoice now, I send them an automatic payment link I give them options. I say, here's a way to set up an automated payment in PayPal. Here's my pay it one time with PayPal. And the third is if it's an annual payment, not a month to month, I let them send me a check, but I'm on them about it, right? And I charge late fees if they're not there. And if the check doesn't arrive, but over time, I've gotten more and more of them exposed to the way to pay me. And then with brand new clients, I started this 2 years ago and it was an absolute game changer. I require a payment plan for every new website. I used to do a third down, 2/3 when the website was complete. I now take whatever my estimate is, and after talking with them about how long we think it's going to take, I set them up in a automated PayPal or Stripe payment plan over the course of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months. So it's one payment per month. It's automated. It keeps them on time with getting stuff to me. It keeps me on time because they're about to pay me. I need to send them stuff. So that new client comes in trained to pay me with automated payments. And so you can also offer a little discount if they pay you online to get them used to it and set up. So I used to do a little pay early and save. And that would be by PayPal only. And that's how I converted some of my check writers into PayPal payers.
Yeah, I agree. I know that when I ran an agency, I had to do the same thing. There was a lot of client training that goes on when it comes to payments, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yes, it is 100% a client training thing. And actually, your idea is probably something that I should have tried because like having them trained to already make that monthly payment and for it just to auto deduct and it just to be a thing is, yeah, that sounds way easier than everything that we ever attempted. So let's see here. You mentioned you use exclusively WordPress and Beaver Builder. What are your thoughts on focusing a tech design stack and also an e-commerce? So like building a tech design stack, I think is what they're referring to.
Okay, so I feel like everyone in the WordPress community just needs to do what they're most comfortable with. So if that method is what you want to work on and you want to also, if like focusing on e-commerce is what you want to work on, then do that with every client, right? So make that your niche. So for me, I found that I didn't want to use page builders at all at first. And I resisted it. And my friend Anne-Marie Gill, who is a web designer in Duval, Washington, said, Cami, you got to do this. It's going to change everything. So I just bought Beaver Builder up front without even trying it, just on her recommendation. And it worked well. She knew what I needed before I knew what I needed. But there's different lanes for WordPress. You need to pick the lane that's most comfortable for you. What works for me may not work for you and your clients. So I do some small e-commerce, but I don't find a lot of joy in that. So I tend to just keep that kind of in a smaller sense. But that's just me. And WordPress has people who love Gutenberg and blocks and Oxygen and Divi and Elementor, and I'm going to code the whole thing from scratch, people. I mean, the whole bit. So just find what works for you, and then make sure that that's replicating with every job that you do.
For sure. Absolutely. Jimmy would like to know, do you use any project management software?
Hi, Jimmy.
Can't imagine having 44 sites in progress all at once.
Okay, so Jimmy, I have several ways, and I'm never gonna have it go up to 44 sites ever again. I keep it at half that. So basically, I have a Google spreadsheet that I created myself, and I'd be happy to share that with you, Jimmy, in any time. And maybe I'll do a blog post and put a blank one in there so everybody can see it. I use that, but I rely on Gmail for all of my email. And in the course of that, I found a couple of different tools. So Insightly is a CRM that you can use for free for a very long time. And that helps me keep track of projects. But I don't really like the tool for keeping track of tasks in there. So I connected it with Zapier to my Google Tasks, and now it throws them into Google Tasks. And in Google, I use something called Streak, which creates spreadsheets in my email program. So it's a pretty cool system. I'll do a blog post about it so I can share it more in detail. But I've heard really good things about ClickUp. I think I actually had a dream that I was setting up ClickUp the other day. But I'm always trying to find tools, and unfortunately, you have to try them to figure out what's right for you. And I've never found the exact perfect system, but just enough to keep me on top of things.
Which is way better than not being on.
Yes,
for sure.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with PayPal fees? Do you absorb it or do you add it in?
I expect to spend money to make business. And the minute I stopped worrying about PayPal fees, trying to do everything on the free version, premium plugins, paying for like, add-ons in pro sites that like, oh, if I turn that on, I'm going to have to pay another $1 or whatever. I stopped worrying about that, and my income went through the roof because I started investing in my business. So a PayPal payment, I can be sitting on my couch and get an email that says you have money, and it's worth 2.9% and 30 cents for that. It's worth the loss of the back and forth of where's the check, I haven't received the check, and everything with the post office now is iffy, right? I've had clients have checks really lost this year. So having a mindset that, paying fees is investing in your business will go a long way. And of course, you could raise your prices if you're concerned about that. But, do support yourself. Like we do so much for customers, and then we're like, oh, I'm going to use this free plugin, but I really want the one that's $80 a month. Just, I pay all kinds of agency level licensing, so my clients don't have to, unless they, separate from me. But I think spending money on my business is one of the best things I've done.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we get so caught up in trying to earn people's business and trust that it's hard to necessarily remember that you have to invest in yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
You have to invest in your own business. So buy that JavaScript course, buy that premium plugin, buy the agency level thing, because it's only going to elevate you and your business. And it's not a bad thing to turn around and reinvest in yourself. I mean, large corporations do it all the time.
Right. And I'm so glad you mentioned training, because I've done WP Elevation and Jennifer Bourne's Profitable Project Plan. And those two things together really made a difference for me. Just in the joy I have of working, because I'm not in a panic all the time. Right.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a dance that we know all too well, for sure.
Right.
So I have one more question that's floating out there right now. So feel free to throw more questions in the Q&A section if you have them, and if not, we'll start to wrap up after this one. Do you train clients that want to update their own WordPress sites?
Yes, I would say a good 60% of my clients want to do something by themselves. And when I launch their website, I have them schedule a training session. Back before we were stuck at home, I want to say about 7 or 8 years ago, I did a website for a Catholic school and did a training for 16 teachers at one time. That was really interesting because I'm not really a teacher, and here I am teaching the teachers. But you know, I do routinely do a Zoom training. I record the whole thing. I give that to them, and they have it for reference later, right? So I download the Zoom video into Dropbox for the client. And so I pay for Dropbox and all kinds of stuff so my clients have access to things that I've given them over the course of building their website. But that's where Beaver Builder comes in as a star for my clients, is they find it really easy to update. They get it. It's a visual experience for them. So, and again, I'm going to give another plug for Loom, because I use Loom, and a client will say like, hey, I'm trying to do something and I can't figure out how to make this work. And I'll just do it in the video and send it to them. And for my care plan clients, I don't charge them anything for that. That's just a communication tool for me. Because if I teach them how to do it, I don't have to do it.
Exactly. So, got a couple more questions that rolled in.
Okay.
Can you summarize how GoDaddy Pro Sites helps you the most, and what is the one feature that you cannot live without?
Okay, this is so easy. Let's go back to me with 44 projects and waking up at midnight worrying if my equipment rental guy had updated his plugins, and knowing that he hadn't done that. And I get up at 3 in the morning and update his plugins, and I go back to bed and I'm just a mess, right? So when I discovered, at the time it was called Manage WP, and I figured out that I could sell this package, which has grown to over half my annual income now, of updating, virus scans, backups, and just cleaning out the database. So not every tool in the toolbox turned on. And that was how I got my clients in there in an affordable rate. Now, over time, I've learned how to use it in a lot of different ways. It's not just for care. The biggest thing I do is clone websites. And also restoring websites is the other thing that is a really huge deal. So those two tools, so the backup portion of Manage WP has saved my clients bacon more times than I can tell you, because if their website has a problem, I can fix it by rolling it back. And while I'm working on a mock-up for a client, I can clone the website to their hosting, wherever that might be, with a total ease. And you know, there are other products out there that I still use on occasion if I'm having a problem or whatever, but Manage WP and Pro Sites has this clone feature that works flawlessly. So if a client wants to move it to a new host, it's no big deal for me to do it. It's pretty easy.
Well, yeah, and because GoDaddy Pro Sites doesn't lock you into any one host, you can use them with any host.
Yes.
It makes it even easier.
Yes, you have freedom here.
Do you offer coaching for other designers?
You know, I don't, but I have this Facebook group. And it's really a really strong community of wonderful designers. A lot of people I know, a lot of people I haven't met yet. I hope we get to meet at WordCamp, but it's a very small group. And if you're looking for support, please go to my Facebook group and answer my questions, and you can become a member. I have had a dream of being a coach, and in fact, Andy did an article in the GoDaddy Garage in 2017, and that's what I had kind of hoped to morph into. But I still have continuous work, and I love what I do. So I want to keep my current business model for now. But eventually, yes, I would like to coach other designers because I'm really passionate about, especially solopreneurs. I feel like there's a lot of pressure to become an agency, and I am just really believe that you can be super successful alone, working on your own business, and have referral partners that do all the other pieces. And I just have really enjoyed the last 19 years, and I hope that I get to do this for a lot longer.
Do you have tiered base care plans, or like, so the question is, I've tried doing this with adding more features with the more that they pay, but in your opinion, is that a good way to go about it, doing tiered?
Yeah, I do think it's a really good way to go about it. And I have 2 tiers, and I don't charge a ton for my care plan for the base fee. So it's $50 a month for the basic, $75 for 3 more reporting elements, which is SEO, performance, and uptime. So I kind of divided it. Please go to webcami.com and click on Get Help, and you'll see my structure of pricing and everything there. Feel free to take a look at it. My customers, and I have customers that pay less than that are my legacy clients that I put into place in 2015, and I'm never going to raise their prices. They're all going to be locked in there forever. The new people can come in and pay the regular price. I always offer a discount to get them in. I think one of the mistakes people make is charging a lot for their care plans, and then when we hit a problem with the economy, like COVID or something else, people are more apt to cancel something if they feel like they're taking a big hit every month. I think I had 2 people asked to pause the care plan during COVID. I kept it going for them free of charge because I wanted them to know I was supporting them. Giving that away had them say, I'm ready to start paying you again, and thank you so much for taking care of it all this time. So my advice is, what is your customer base? What are they? Are they estheticians and massage therapists, or are they doctors and lawyers? Or are they a mix of all of those? Just make sure that you're pricing it to get them in there, because you want them in there. And then you can add on other things. Like if you wanted to add hosting and you have a reseller account somewhere, you can do that. I let people buy down my hourly rate. So, if somebody needs an hour a month, they're getting a little discount there. So, and then if you're letting them pay month to month, biggest advice ever is that the checks don't happen at that level. You have to have them pay you upfront with PayPal. But don't be afraid of the annual payment, because if you have 150 annual payments spread out over a certain month, and I have a spreadsheet for this where I have every month and whose care plan comes in, so I know how much care plan income I have every month. That can really help you balance your income as well. It frees you up to build that recurring income so you can be picky about the clients that you're taking on.
And one thing to note with that is there are softwares that will handle managing that recurring for you too. Mm-hmm. So I know like my husband, Chris, his agency, they use Zoho subscriptions. And so that manages all of that incoming money and lets him see exactly what his recurring revenue is every month. So he can plan accordingly.
And PayPal does a pretty good job of that now too. Like once you set up the subscription in PayPal, as Stripe is the same way. You can set that up. You can use Stripe with WooCommerce if you want. There's a lot of different options for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and bookkeeping's a hard one. Getting some comments about, it's bookkeeping is really going to be something that you've got to follow local laws and all of that. So tax laws and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, I feel you, Andrew, on that. But bookkeeping is such a difficult thing we could do an entire talk on bookkeeping and bring
there's never been one answer for me. I use FreshBooks and QuickBooks and pay the monthly fee for both of them just because I want to give the accountant QuickBooks, but I like FreshBooks for estimates.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for giving up your time for us today. We really appreciate it. This has been a great discussion. It's been a lot of amazing knowledge. I do want to remind everyone to check out Expand. It's coming up in 2 weeks. Events.godaddy.com has all of what's going on here at GoDaddy and GoDaddy Pro. Next week, we've got Chris Edwards. He's coming in to talk about building that recurring revenue stream. So this week was clients. Next week is let's build that recurring revenue, build your business. Same time, same place. Check it out on events.godaddy.com. And Livingston, you know who Chris Edwards is. Thank you for asking.
I want to thank all my cafe members and friends that showed up today. It really made a difference for me. You all know how much I love doing these events. As a speaker, I'm getting better, and I really appreciate GoDaddy giving me the opportunity to talk to everyone today.
Absolutely, and we'll have you back again. We love having you on the GoDaddy Pro Meetup show. I need to title this thing something better.
Yeah, I like that, the GoDaddy Pro Meetup show. I actually think that that's catchy.
Awesome. Well, we will see y'all next week. Have a good week. Enjoy building your businesses.
Bye.